Hello everyone, in this video we'll be looking at a game between Magnus Carlsen and Sasa Martinikov. Magnus Carlsen has the black pieces and Martinikov has white, who started off with the move d4. So here black plays knight to f6, c4, g6. So this starts off as a King's Indian where black usually fianchettos and castles. So after knight to c3, d5. So this is a completely different opening and a different strategy. So here this is the Grunfels defense. So white immediately attacks the center with the move d5. So after c takes, knight takes, bishop to d2, simply developing the bishop, and we have c5. So after c5, white plays rook to c1, and then black plays knight to c6, developing the knight and putting more pressure on the d4 pawn. So after this, white plays the move d takes e5. So here black plays bishop to g7, and now since white took the pawn, black has the completely open diagonal for the bishop. So he plays e4, pushing the knight back. Knight goes to b4, then knight to f3, and then black castles. Here white plays a3, and then here knight to d3. So bishop takes, queen takes, and then we have queen to e2, offering the trade of queens. So queen takes e2, king takes e2, and then bishop to e6, developing the bishop. So here we have knight to d5, bishop takes on b2, taking the free pawn, and then rook to c2. This move is kind of gave the advantage to black, as black takes on a3, then rook to a1, attacking the bishop. Here black ignores the threat and plays f5. So after rook takes a3, we have f takes on e4, attacking this knight, and then this bishop is also attacking the knight. So after knight takes on e7, knight takes on e7, white moves the knight to d4. So bishop goes back, and we have rook to b2, attacking the b7 pawn. So after knight to c6, bishop to e3, knight takes on d4, bishop takes on d4, and then bishop to c6, defending the b2 pawn. So rook b to a2, attacking the a7 pawn now. So black plays a6, simply getting out of the threat. So king to e3, now rook a to d8. So rook to d2, rook to d5, king to e2, rook f to d8. So he's threatening to take the bishop. So bishop goes back, and that defends the rook. So rook to d3, offering the trade of rooks, and rook to a1. White declines the trade of rooks. So king to f7. So the endgame, you always want to try to bring your king over, make the king more active in these squares. So after the move g3, we have rook takes on d2, and after bishop takes on d2, we have bishop to b5, checking the king. So here white played king to e1, and then after this, black plays rook to d3. So here the idea is just to make the rook more active and get the rook more involved in the position in attacking the king. So rook to b1, then king to e6. So as we said before, the king wants to become more active in the endgame, where it gets maybe king here, and then here, and he becomes close to the white king. So rook to b4, and then bishop to c6, defending the e4 pawn. And then after rook to b2, king to d5. So here this is a losing endgame for white, because he's gonna lose the pawn. And say if you try to play something like this, you simply run into the bishop to a6, and now that just after rook goes back, he just is simply lost for white. So I hope you enjoyed this nice game by Magnus Carlsen playing the black pieces in this tournament, and I'll see you in the next video.